What's up, everybody? This is Ric Beardsley. This is your first ever podcast with me on my own. Takeaways with Ric Beardsley. Today's guest, we got Andy Towers. But again, let's get it started, Hutton. Let's get it started. Takeaways with Ric Beardsley.
Pressure his job gives me.
I got to go to lunch, then I got to come home. I haven't showered, done anything.
The question is, will the camera add 20 or will it drop 20? Probably add 30.
Actually, it'll probably add 40.
Jesus.
Come home and ride the Peloton.
Tinny, I'll come into your room and cuddle with you. I didn't want to hear it.
Then I don't have a clinic tonight, which is the greatest thing in the world.
What kind of question is that? Of course I'm ready.
All right, guys. Again, this is Takeaways with Ric Beardsley. I'm your host, Ricky B. We got Hutton. He's on the other end. You'll hear him from time to time. He's the smart one of the bunch. I'm the dumb one. We all know that. You can tell by the way I look. There's a reason why I'm in all brown today, okay, in the Carhartt. Number one, it's cold in Syracuse, New York. That's where I'm located. We have warm heat in here, but I do have one of Brown's most prominent alumni on, the head coach of the PLL Chaos. We'll get into his interview in a little while, but I'm wearing brown because that's where Coach Towers went to Brown University. But now, speaking of college lacrosse, oh my goodness gracious. Can we talk about, Hutton, can we talk about Syracuse's game last week versus Army? So now, folks, obviously I'm a Syracuse alumni. I want to give you a little insider info. I was, I think, banned last week from local radio. What I said, I basically called out Syracuse for what it was. Now, let me clarify. I bleed orange through and through. I have lived in this town since I was 18. I am now 47, and I know, folks, I look like I'm at least maybe 39. I get it. I'm a good-looking guy. I'm svelte. I don't have two chins, especially when the camera adds 30 pounds. I'm actually 30 pounds less. But that being said, here's the deal. I'm nothing but honest about certain things when I speak about lacrosse. I think about all things. I don't pull any punches. Again, I live and breathe Syracuse lacrosse. It has done a lot for me in my life. It has helped shape some things out of my character. It has helped shape some things and business opportunities for me. But I will certainly not hold back when I think things are going sometimes in a bad direction. Now, I have a radio show, which is obviously which, you know, with COVID, we've had some issues. There's no one, we're not going to ask sponsors to come in. So my radio show for this year on ESPN local in Syracuse with Stephen Fonte called the Upstate Lacrosse Show has been put on hiatus due to coronavirus. But I get to go on Orange Nation. So on Orange Nation with Steve Infani, which is the big show here, I got on and you know, I spoke my mind. I said, you know, last week against Army, I think they were uninspired. Okay. Syracuse was uninspired. They were unemotional on the sideline. They came out believing the press clippings. Their defense was absolutely abysmal. And I will go into those a little bit for you, why it's just not a bash session. I want to tell you why I think these things. Okay. I think they were out coached. I think they were out hustled. I think, you know, guys didn't play well. I think Tucker Dordovic was a bright spot. I think, you know, faceoffs were a bright spot for Syracuse as we'll talk about the Virginia game that happened this weekend. But I want to go into why I tell you it was uninspired. You come out 6-1. You know that Army, they protect our borders, everybody. They're an inspired team. They're forced to be inspired. That's instilled in them. Each one of those seniors probably has $15 to $20 million worth of training into them. Okay. So they're not just going to roll over being down 5 goals. You have to expect that you got to put a few more to try and get them doubting themselves because they're taught not to doubt themselves. So when Syracuse got up 6-1, I think they rolled over a little bit and didn't go for that dagger, didn't know how to kill on them. And once Army started to make the comeback, it seemed that Syracuse made 0 adjustments. All right, now, here's where I'm going to make everybody feel good and warm and fuzzy and hug you up in here in Syracuse on that staff or those guys that believe, and you don't have to be upset. Pat March. I was not a believer in Pat March when he first got hired. Be the first person to tell you. Oh, my God. Who was Pat March? I knew who he was, but what was he bringing to the table over the last year? Oh my goodness. What he's brought to the table has been amazing. Pat March, great job. You've brought youth, you've brought recruits, you've brought a fresh attitude, you've brought emotion. Pat March, great job. Absolutely great job, Patrick. You deserve a raise. You deserve a car. No one can co-sign, for it on the staff, though. We don't need any more violations. But you deserve a car. I need you to go right to my boy Chris DeMarco at Summit, or to my boy Shapiro up there at Shapiro Motors, or even go see FX Caprera and get it done, because you deserve a car and you deserve a raise, buddy. Now, the defense, very poorly done, very poorly coached. Why? Not because the guys stink. They don't. The players are good lacrosse players. Brett Kennedy, unbelievable lacrosse player. Great long stick midfielder. Okay? One of the best in the United States. Great kid. Great family. All right? Know his dad. See, my show here, my podcast, little different than the most people. Like, I got the little nuances. I know all the little things in the industry. Little known fact, I go to dinner with Kennedy's dad when I'm down in Jersey all the time. Talk to him, have lunch. Greatest guy in the world. Okay, old man Kennedy. Kennedy is just like, he's not a close defenseman. He'll be the first person to tell you. Hence, we'll go into what happened at UVA when we made the switch. But he played down low against Nick Turn. Now, am I taking anything away? Remember, folks, we're not talking about how good Army is right now. We're talking about all the things I said in negativity towards Syracuse, and I'm explaining to you why and what I said and what I saw, okay? Offense. One-dimensional against Army. Attacked only from up top. Obviously, we know the weak point, or if there is a weak point on the Syracuse offense, it's going to be the attack unit, no Dodgers. All right, not big Dodgers. But I think there's a few guys that can dodge. Are they the best Dodgers in the world? No. But I think they can attack the cage and create. Okay? We didn't make that adjustment, where against Army last year, we hit the up top, we hit the wings, didn't work, then we went behind. Hence it worked. Game was close until we started turning the Army defense around. Okay? So, no defensive or offensive adjustments. Now, I don't know, because I'm not privy. I'm not in the Carrier Dome. I'm not on that staff. I can't hear audio. I actually jumped off midway through and jumped on one of those cheddar things with my buddy Dan Nathan and the Fast Money guys from CNBC. Paul Rabil was on. I got an opportunity to jump on with all the bigwigs. I couldn't believe that I was on, and I'm going to give you a little bit of factual things. I'm not holding anything back in this podcast. I was a bit intimidated. And it's a simple reason. These guys are all big guys in the financial world, and they were lacrosse guys, and they wanted to talk about the ramifications of lacrosse, what they thought lacrosse is going to do, how it's going to grow, how it's going to be affected by race, all those things. I'm just a lowly little simpleton who lives in Syracuse, New York, everybody. I don't try to think I'm better than anyone. That's the misconception about the person that people think I am. I live in a small house in North Syracuse. I don't do much. I don't go out much. I spend as much time as I can with my beautiful wife, Tori, and my two daughters, Angela, who's a pretty sick lacrosse player, I think, and my little one, Viviana Beardsley, who's 10, who I think is a pretty good lacrosse player as well. Folks, I don't go on Fast Money. I don't use big words. I don't even know how to spell those big words. That's what spell check's for. That little red squiggly line, I right-click and go, oh, that's how you spell it? So, I don't try to be something I'm not, but I watched that Syracuse Army game, and Army just put it to us. The Nick Turn kid is unbelievable. Joe Albarisi, oh my goodness gracious, one of the greatest and most gracious guys the game has to have. He's one of the best people there are, okay? And you know what? Kudos to him and Kyle Georgalis. Here's a little excerpt for you. Kyle Georgalis was in his mom's arms and born when his dad coached my Empires team. That's how long I've known Kyle Georgalis. Great defensive coordinator. Put the stymie on the Cuse. Okay. Army, 10 for 10 if you lined them up. Doesn't have the players that Syracuse has. Okay. But if you put them as a team, they're unbelievable. And kudos to the Army Black Knights for that game. They're going to have a great season. They're not going to falter as much as we think. They're not going to lose, I don't think, to Marist, right? So let's fast forward now into that debacle and why I'm blackballed because I said everything apparently. Who knows if Orange Nation will get me on this week? You know what? I liked my own platform when I had my own radio show. Now I'm here. I'm on a podcast. I'm loving it. You're listening to me, and I appreciate you as a listener. Now let's talk about Syracuse UVA. Now I had the distinct pleasure of being in Goshen, New York, doing the Apex Lacrosse event for Austin Pafani and Matt Rambo this weekend. Oh, yes, the old guy gets asked because you know why? Because I bring the energy and I'm intense, and I kind of know how to run drills. I can blow a whistle. I can hit the little whistle thingy. I'm good at that, Hutton. Syracuse versus UVA, all right? Syracuse UVA. I was sitting with Matt Rambo, Austin Pafani, Connor Kelly, Zed Williams, okay? My boy Duff, right, the lefty. He knows I'm giving the V-hold for him right there. We're bringing the lefty. If we bring him in the PLL, give him the V-hold. And then the starter for Yale, the starter for Cornell, Princeton assistant coach. So there's a pretty good harem of good lacrosse players. Now, let me just, before I talk about the game, let me talk about the character of those of Matt Rambo and Zed Williams, if you don't know. I learned a lot about Matt Rambo in the last 48 hours. I learned one thing. The way his voice comes off, people might think it's arrogance, it's he's a chill guy. I'll tell you right now, he's a great teammate. A great teammate. Unbelievable teammate. No wonder the Whip Snakes succeed with him. He had nothing but great things to say about every one of his teammates whenever he spoke. Now, you can look across the board. If you're a teammate that talks about that, you're one hell of a good teammate. Zed Williams. First and foremost, I'm a pretty large guy. Andy Towers is a very large guy. Zed Williams is a fucking monster. He is huge, humble. What a great, great, great kid. You know, he mentioned the dynamic of those two. I'm looking to my left here. I had Matt here, Zed here. Like the dynamic of those two, and then Connor Kelly right over. No wonder they won. It was unbelievable. The things they would say, he'd just be like, Matt would be like, just throw it to an area, and there's Zed. And Zed's over there smiling, doesn't speak, very quiet. We asked him about his workout. He said, I do the 6 cable things. Holy shit. Could you imagine if Zed Williams had a strength and conditioning coach? The dude is a linebacker, okay? And he's a linebacker that's athletic, and he's legit. Holy shit bombs, okay? It's very simple. Now, I got a chance to watch that game in the bar. I drink Pellegrinos. I can't lie to you. Been off. It's just decided beginning of the year, time to clean the system out a little bit. So I'm sitting with these guys and I'm watching this game, and it was a duel. Why did Syracuse win? Simple. Pat March. Simple equation. People could say because they took Brett Kennedy and made Wyckoff go down low. Pat March dumped 19 goals. All because he was able to coach. He moved where they attacked to try and find the weakness. He out-coached this week the UVA staff, which doesn't happen much, okay? It's a known fact. If you watch that game, I said it. When it was 7-7, I looked around the table and said, this game is going to come down to coaching. Whoever coaches better today, because 2 teams were equal, all right, is going to win this game. Now, on a side note, I don't know if the folks were aware, UVA's goalie, he wasn't very good, okay? But They had no one else to go to. The second and third string guys, I got to do 3 fingers, were gone. They were injured, not available. The fourth guy was a club guy. So everybody's wondering why they wouldn't pull the goalie right away. I mean, he was rattled. I can tell you one thing I know about lacrosse. When I've played, I am a psychological master. I have gotten in more people's heads, rattled more people by using verbiage than any human could ever give. I am a master shit talker. Okay, I'm going to pat myself right here about that. I can rattle because I go violent. I go right after moms. I go right after girlfriends. Like, I don't care. I want to win. So that's what people, don't understand. But I see in guys' eyes when you can push and grit and get under their skin. That second goal that was like a slow bouncer, he was looking around on camera. They caught it. And I said, dude is rattled. Dude's rattled. Somebody's got to call timeout, try to calm him down. Because Hutton, goalies are interesting creatures, right? They're different creatures.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And look, folks, Hutton, I've given him a chance to say absolutely. That's it. Folks, if you're not responding, you got my boy Hut. He's just known as Hutton Jackson, but we call him the Hut. He's in Jabba the Hutt. He's just the Hut. Okay. So Hutton, that game right there, 19-10 Syracuse win. I know it. I watched the whole thing. Brett Kennedy goes up top, scores a goal. There is the reason why Brett Kennedy now becomes a great lacrosse player again. He's between the lines. They dominate the faceoffs. UVA did some great things. Charlie Bertrand attacked some things. There were still some, scored some great goals when they got mismatches. Syracuse had some faulty defensive, adjustments on that one. But what did you think about that game, big boy?
I was really, surprised. I thought it was going to be much tighter down to the wire. And I think, I don't know if Cuse comes out that fired up if they didn't have such a bad loss to Army, honestly. I think, like you said, it kind of put things in perspective for them, kind of knocked them down a peg, which allowed them to kind of come out and be hungry and thirsty against a team that, in UVA that looked unstoppable for these past couple of weeks. So, I thought it was a very impressive showing by the Orange.
I mean, they're going to, Orange will get a test this week in Stony Brook, right on the 12th. Love those guys, Coach Janenchuk and Coach Gallardi, down there on the island with JP Brazel, one of the greatest 3 combinations of Long Island guys you'll ever go. But I just want to flip it quick. We don't try to go too long with this podcast. We want to keep you engaged. You guys are stuck with my bad accent and my raspy voice in your speakers right now. Maybe your face, you're staring at me. You get sick of me. Couple things, my takeaways from the weekend or the first 2 weeks of the season. Who the hell is Georgetown? Oh my God. I mean, I am going to now be Kevin Warren in the Georgetown locker room. Holy Jesus, guys. What the? How are we giving up only 1 goal here? You see the Jets? What are the Jets doing? I mean, Ricky B. I mean, this isn't like Hofstra. We aren't like Flying Dutchman here. Guys, how are you only giving up? This is amazing. You know why it's amazing, Coach? Because you're a hell of a coach. Kevin Warren is a defensive guru. I want to know what the hell he's doing down there in Washington, D.C. to give up just 2 goals in 2 weeks. Forget about Jake Caraway. Kid's a stud. We already know that. Okay, he's got a great name. Jake Caraway. I mean, but 2 goals. Are you shitting me? 2 goals. They weren't against slouch programs. It wasn't like they played teams that were traditionally teams that they should blow out. I mean, my God, 2 goals. Now, on the flip side, if you're Villanova, right, you're taking a look going, how can I not score? But I want to know, as a defensive guy, I am going to be calling you, Coach Warren. You will get a call from me by the end of the week. So be ready if you're not listening. And you're going to say, oh, Ricky, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Are you checking out those Jets? Oh, I got it. All right, perfect. Because that's Kevin Warren, huge Jet fan. I'm a Jet season ticket holder growing up. Total Hofstra guy. He's Mr. New York doing the job down there. That is my kudos of the week goes out to Coach Warren and his staff and his Georgetown Hoyas. And that is amazing because I'm a Syracuse guy. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Hoya Saxa. I'm about to say that. I can't believe it. All right, now let's switch gears. Great college discussion, long-winded. Sorry, folks, I'm a long-winded guy. right into our first interview. Now, this guy probably needs no introduction. I mean, the dude is a straight stud. He's known all over the world of lacrosse, and I've tried to throw takeaway checks on him, and it hasn't worked. But I'd like everybody to welcome in head coach of the Chaos, former Brown All-American, Andrew N. Towers. Andrew, how you doing today, big boy?
I'll tell you, I am above average risk. And I appreciate that lead, and that's humbling as hell. And it also puts me under a lot of pressure to stay diligent in my pursuit of trying to not age. But I really, really appreciate you having me on. It's humbling as hell, and always great to speak to you, my man.
So Hutton was telling me, and Hutton's in the background here, I'm going to run this interview, so it's going to be extremely blue collar. You don't see my look right now. Carhartt beanie on and a Carhartt brown sweatshirt, both brown. I'm matching, and it's really because you went to Brown. That is what I wore it for. Okay, I was dorky like
that. That's huge. Ironically, I am also wearing a Carhartt sweatshirt that my boy Tony Greer from TG Macro Morning Navigator sent me, and it has become a mainstay in my Monday to Friday lineup. So
that is usually what it is.
Carhartt.
You know who had that same one on from Tony? Foxy. John Fox yesterday had it on.
Yes, that makes sense. Foxy's a fucking A+.
So
he's an A+.
Carhartt's coming back in for old, good-looking guys, so that's just what we're doing. But
love it.
Listen, want to just jump in fast. Last year in the PLL bubble, your team made a miraculous turnaround from, struggling to all of a sudden just coming together and boom, taking it into halftime of the PLL Championship game, making everybody in the Whip Snakes worry. Like, you're a master motivator. I know that. People, when you get interviewed, I've watched the games in replay, and people just feed off your energy. What did you say? What did you do? How did you turn that around? Because obviously, my team, the Atlas, we struggled. We don't think we had the energy. We got to get a little bit of that energy. I'm trying to, get a little bit of that energy out of this interview so we can put it into our locker room. But tell me how you really did that.
Well, listen, I think more so than anything else, from coaching in the league, that it's a players' league. And the players are the ones that deserve the credit for coming together the way that they did. I think that in the end, we made a couple of schematic changes that I think created a little bit of a fresher dynamic offensively. And, we basically decided that we were going to have a crease presence with Miles Thompson, and that kept teams a little more honest on the defensive end. And in the process of doing that, we were able to get a little more depth on our dodges with some of the dangerous players that we have. And once you get depth on your dodges, you're going to get slides. And when you get slides, you get ball movement. And when you get the best players in the world moving the ball, you can become very dangerous very quickly. And I think that was the key for us. I felt like our defense, Ryan Curtis, our defensive coordinator, and I felt like between Ryan Curtis's schemes, certainly the all-world, all-PLL play of Blaze Reardon, the cohesiveness of us on the defensive end, those things had been consistent throughout round robin play for us. We just weren't scoring enough goals to win, those games. And I felt like once we made a schematic change and put a true crease guy to the inside, which Matt Panetta really is the guy that deserves the credit for that as our offensive coordinator. I felt like there was a freshness to us on the offensive end that wasn't there during the round robin play. And I felt like that combined with getting it done on the defensive end allowed us to peak at the right time. Unfortunately, we were about 10 minutes short. And so we've got to get 10 minutes better. We got to get 11 minutes better over the course of, the year leading up into the season this summer. And hopefully we can do that.
Great insight. We appreciate that. My next question is, I'm going to just, flip you. First of all, I want to give credit where credit is due. The next question was going to go into your staff of Ryan Curtis and Peanuts. in what they do. I mean, everybody sees you as the big figurehead, no pun intended. You're a big human. You're out there, personality, good looking, great facial hair. It's not even gray, which is amazing. But tell me a little bit about, what Ryan does and what Matt does before we go into the next question, because I think that's important for people to know that, PLL assistants, and I'm not saying it because I'm one, or maybe I am, we have a little bit more, we have a little bit more insight. We each have a different job. You know what I mean? So give me a little more insight to what those guys do for the squad.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, I think all the staffs in the league obviously are filled with guys with resumes that speak for themselves. I'm extremely fortunate to have two guys that were good friends of mine before we got together on the same staff in the PLL. I played with Ryan on the Boston Cannons, and we have a ton of mutual friends. And then Matt Panetta and I first met each other during the U19 tryouts, actually, in 1987. And we ultimately played on the U19 1988 World Championship team together. So I've known Matt for, 30 years or so. And so the first thing is we've known each other for a long time. Certainly we have a lot of respect for each other's respective resumes. You're looking at two of the best players at their respective positions in the world. At one point, Ryan was National College Defenseman of the Year. He was the MLL Defenseman of the Year. And Matt, of course, was a first-team All-American after scoring 5 goals in the finals versus Syracuse in one of the most memorable national championship games ever, where Petro versus the Gates, right? And and so you're talking about two guys that basically the players have an immediate respect for, knowing that these guys have walked in their shoes. They were at one point the best players in the world, like the guys in the PLL currently are the best players in the world. And to be honest with you, Matt runs the offense and Ryan runs the defense, but we make all the decisions together. While Ryan's systems are what we use on the defensive end, we game plan everything together. And Matt's systems, along with me, I'm an offensive guy as well. We come up with the schemes as a group of 3 guys, and we talk about the respective pieces and where they're going to fit into those schemes. And so we all have a sense of ownership of it. I think that there have been things that we've been doing on the offensive end where Ryan, has brought up a point, and it's helped us evolve into something that we all take ownership of. And I know from the defensive end, we try to provide the same sort of insight in that respect. And so I think I'm fortunate that I've got 2 other really proven lacrosse minds in the room, and we're fortunate that there's a layer of respect where everybody has a voice that's heard. And regardless of what direction we ultimately go with the decisions that we make, the important part is that we all were able to give our opinions. And even if it's not what our opinion was, the fact that everything is heard provides a layer of ownership to everything that we do, which is important to getting connected as a staff and ultimately getting connected with the players as a locker room.
Well, those guys are ballers in their own right. I know that. I mean, I do business with Ryan here at Mercury, and I do some of Matt's stuff now down in Long Island. Just 2 great guys. They're in our Drew text. I mean, Matt's in our Drew text. The Derelicts are us football league. So that's just what we have. But hey, quick question for those that don't know. Everybody sees what Andrew Towers was, or is as the coach of the Chaos. I happen to be able to play against you, watched you play in your career, and have been part of a video that they put on all social media of you catching, scoring behind your back, and then you slapping me in the ass, talking shit to me. Listen, and me, I want to make it known, because this is my podcast, so I control the things. I want to make it known.
Yep.
I myself said just nothing but nice things to you. I said that was a great shot. That was really the way you used your right hand and went over my shoulder. Nice cut to the ball. And that's really what I said.
I slightly object to noting nice things. I think it's ultimately convenient for the viewership to not have had any real clear audio. I don't remember total pleasantries. I do remember exactly what was said, but I will not say what was said. and I will say that you did not swear, but you said something that I will remember all the way until I am dead. And it makes me laugh every single time when I think about it. And you guys won the game. So I may have had some success on that individual play, Rick, but the reality is I can't say that losing the game was worth winning one play. And
you won a bunch that day.
I've told you many times.
Correct. You went
in
5
my
and
opinion, you are a Hall of Famer in my opinion, and I wish that they would do the right thing and put you in. But the reason why I went to Brown is, quite frankly, it was the best academic school that I got into that had a realistic chance of winning a national championship. And I had offers from Virginia and Duke and some other Ivy League schools. But to me, I really wanted to be part of ideally helping put a program on the map and ideally trying to help a team win a national championship that hadn't done it before. From a lacrosse standpoint, that was what was most appealing to me. But the primary reason was, listen, with my academic profile, given the opportunity to go to an Ivy League school, it was something I couldn't pass up. And I would never have had that opportunity if I didn't play lacrosse and had support and admissions from the coach. And so from that standpoint, it was the best life option that I had ahead of me. And I was fortunate to have parents that allowed me, to make the right decision, so to speak.
Yeah,
with a little bit of direction, of course.
We've all made some bad decisions, but my quick thing for you, your Brown teams, people don't really understand. It's like the UMass teams when Sal and Jerry were there, along with, with Pseudo and the rest of those guys. They were always about one unit or one player away from being in a Final Four. And those teams had many, many future Hall of Famers on them. And we just, we had a little more than you guys, but our games were always tight. But those teams get left out. And your Brown teams, I mean, at least the 4 years that I played, Oliver Marty, Dave Evans, Catrano, I mean, Stolford, who was a goalie of the year, no one really ever knew. And then I think the only thing your defense was the part that was the weaker part of the team, which wasn't so weak. You know what I mean? So you were always.
Listen, I agree with you. I felt like our first 8 players could play with anybody. Your Syracuse team had more than we could handle, for sure. But there's no question that we had 4 or 5 guys that I thought were as good as anybody's.
Absolutely.
And we had a group of about 8 to 10 that could compete, but over sort of the length of a game, that last layer of depth oftentimes was the challenge for us. And so we had to be able to win faceoffs and control tempo in order for us to do it. But the reality is, in that day and age, there wasn't a lot of controlling tempo. It was kind of, sort of just before Princeton started to invert and slow the game down. And I think against a lot of teams, we rolled out more talent and we could play fast and win a high scoring game. But against your Syracuse team, that is not the case. And I think that game that we played you guys up in the Dome, I think was 16-11, but we were up, we were up early, but we just couldn't sustain it. And, you guys had too many great players and too much passion and, deserve the national championships that you won. And quite frankly, you played a style that I'd love to see more of these days. You've been doing incredible things on the teaching landscape in the last, few years and being one of the few guys left on the planet that's able to teach these kids responsible stick checks, I think has given the game a real shot in the arm. And what I would like to see them do is to create some changes in the way that the sticks are legalized in here. And if you can't change the structure of the heads because of patents and that sort of stuff, then I'd like to see them, make the pockets a little more shallow so that a good check takes the ball away, and that incentivizes coaches to push out around the perimeter. So we can see the return of the creative stick checks that you invented, during your time, and that the fans got to benefit from watching it. I mean, we just don't see the same amount of ding dongs and long johns and butt end digs and delayed one arm wraps and over the heads and the wide range of checks that I know a certain group, the ones that are smart enough to bring in and have you speak to their programs, are getting exposed to. But frankly, I'd like to see, the players across the country and let's face it, up into Canada and down in Australia, exposed to the same things that the kids on the East Coast have been so fortunate in the last few years listening to you speak.
Well, I appreciate that, but that goes on the flip side for you real quick. And I know you got a jet. I'm going to get you off so that way your wife doesn't get mad at us for making you late for your Zoom your Zoom meeting that you have scheduled. But you are one of the best at doing clinics. You give me credit. You've been doing clinics in the Fairfield County area for the last 3 years. What, 5-6 nights a week now with what, 200-300?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I got about 500 kids a week.
Yep.
70% are boys, 30% are girls. I run about 5 a day, Monday through Friday. And I've actually been doing it for about 6 years now. What's that?
I didn't know you were that long with it, AT. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's been something that it's been a lot of fun to stay involved at that level. I kind of have a wide spectrum between doing that from September until February, and then, working with the best players in the world in the PLL, where I'm a little bit more of a fan than I am a coach. But it gives me a great appreciation for all the players that are passionate about this game. And I think that, if we can continue to help players get better and not just have them play games, I think it's something that, the college game is going to benefit from down the line. So let's keep plowing ahead.
In your clinics, I mean, this is now you're going to start to see the effects coming into the next 2 years of what happens with all the kids you've been coaching, into that influx of Fairfield County and those high schools. So I'm excited to see, not just Darien be the best team in the country. I'm excited to see, your alma mater, New Canaan, with your son James, who's an absolute fucking stud. And I have to say it with the because, I'm privy. People that are listening, I'm privy to being able to talk to Coach Towers whenever we're on the car, and I get a chance to talk to him for an hour and a half. And I always bring up the hit that James Towers that you sent out during New Canaan Youth Football. What sticks out about the hit is, number one, James just basically blows this kid up on a sideline. So if you guys don't know, Coach Towers has an older son, James. He's a rage ball champion, beats him every day during the course of the pandemic. And James Towers will probably be one of the best lacrosse players in America. That is a given. I'm not just saying that to be nice because you're on the phone, because I could tell you if he was going to suck, I could get away with it because you're far away. You'd have to drive 5 hours to get me. So I could get away with this. But James is a sick athlete. I do know that. And he sent this hit, guys, of James just killing this guy on a sideline. And then the funniest part was he was over the kid, so fired up that his kid blew it up. It was like alpha male trains little alpha male. It was like, hey, lion, hey, little lion, you now just ate and killed. And it was awesome. And to see that, because it reminds me of the old school, AT, right? It reminds me of what,
100%, man.
My mom was a very violent human and loved violent sports. And my dad was just Big Fred. And he had a temper that was awful, but, showed a lot of love. And you don't see people get like that. But James Towers is going to be a stud, folks. Remember that name. You'll know the last name. But if you remember James Towers from New Canaan, Connecticut, the only thing we could do better for James Towers is you move to Syracuse and he transfers to CBA. That would be best. But I can't say that, but yet I can. Andrew,
listen,
I appreciate
that. I really appreciate you saying that. That's
I love that.
Stuff.
And that's not just love because he's your kid. That's absolute love because I know how good he is. But listen, Coach, we appreciate your time. You know, folks, I'm going to go out with this. Andy Towers should be in the 2021 Hall of Fame class. It is a travesty. I could care less about myself. I'm one of the most infamous lacrosse players that's probably ever played this game. We're both relevant somehow. I think you're like 61 years old. I'm not 47. I think I'm like 29 still. But no, you need to be in the 2021 Hall of Fame class, Coach. There is no doubt about it. I wish you luck. We all have crazy stuff going on with trades and protected rosters, but you've made some sick moves, and I appreciate your time. You're our first ever guest on Takeaways with Ric Beardsley.
Listen, Rick, that's incredibly humbling feedback regarding my son. It's incredibly humbling feedback regarding the Hall of Fame, and it's incredibly humbling to be your first guest on Takeaways with Ric Beardsley. As always, it couldn't be a bigger pleasure in speaking with you, and I look forward to hanging with you a ton this summer. So thanks so much for everything.
That's Andy Towers, head coach of the Chaos. We'll be right back after a message from Mercury Screen Printing. Takeaways with Ric Beardsley is sponsored in part by Mercury Screen Printing for all your team apparel, equipment, and online store needs. Give me a jingle. Why wouldn't you want to talk to me? I'm the rep you got to call. Rick at mercuryprinting.net's the email. Rick at mercuryprinting.net, RIC. And you got me. Let's flip it to the pro. What happened today in the pros, big boy? Now, this is recorded on Monday, guys, just so you know. It goes for the song, You Dropped a Bomb on Me, Baby. The Paul Rabil Boston Cannons trade. Now, I'm on the Atlas staff. How lucky am I? Okay. Now, folks, before I talk about this, and before I chime in with my man Hutton J, you got lots of nicknames you're going to have all the time, by the way, Hutton.
Love it. Love it.
People tend to beat up Paul. Number 99 is one of the greatest midfielders that's ever played this game. And I'm not saying it because I'm an assistant coach in the league. Okay. I have nothing to hide from anybody. I've admired Paul's career. He's done a great job. And people have the audacity at times to say negative things on social media, you know, maybe that aren't so nice. Listen, guys, the guy and his brother with a few other guys created the league that you love so much. Lay the fuck off the guy. All right. He is one of the hardest working lacrosse players. You know, before we traded him today, he just jumped off our text string. He said his goodbyes as a pro, the way he does things. And then he took himself off our group chat. But up until that point, those workouts that he puts on social media, guys, are just not to make you feel like he's cool. Those workouts are real workouts. This guy gives a shit about his game. He gives a shit about his league, and he gives a shit about being good. Forget about when he's off the field and has to be one of the owners of the league. When he gets on, he's about winning. So, folks, if you're killing the poor guy in tweets, I'm going to tell you, I've been with the guy. I'm a pretty straightforward person. I could destroy it if I want to. I don't have any reason to. The guy is a great player. He is a good person. And, you know, people put themselves out there in podcasts, on television, on social media, and you'll always have trolls. I'm going to have a troll right now who's going to probably say, this, that, and the other thing about me, that I'm this, I'm that. Folks, who gives a shit? I got blasted by Anish, I guess, in the UVA game, maybe Kark a little bit. I don't know. I wasn't listening. People hit me with a million texts. Folks, Anish and Kark are two good friends. It doesn't bother me. Did I get beat for the game-winning goal in 94? Absolutely. Was it because I didn't get back in the hole on time? Absolutely. I learned from that experience. My point is, if you don't put yourself out there, you know, you don't become great. You know, I've never done a podcast. It's probably a shitty podcast for certain people. I think it's great. I'm having a blast. I've had some great interviews. I'm going to get interview guys that no one else will get, guaranteed, because I'm no rat. You're not going to see me break trades. You're not going to see me tell you who's doing this. I'm not a rat, brother, because snitches get stitches in my house. All right? But the trade with Paul Rabil today, Boston Cannons, where he started, get Paul Rabil from the Atlas, Ben Rubeor, head coach, my guy, my boss. Great trade. Have your back always. Paul gets a chance to go to a new program with a great coach in Sean Quirk, where he started his career, gets to figure out what he wants to do, whether he wants to retire when he's done with the season. I have a feeling number 99 is going to have a good year. He is motivated. He already was. This is just more motivation for him.
Yeah, and a little input from my side too. Just looking at face value, I think people are forgetting that acquiring Paul Rabil, I think is still a big move. I agree. I think he's going to have a big season. Cannon's also moved up in this entry draft, which is loaded with MLL talent. So they went from having.
Oh my God! And there's not
one,
even guys out there, Hutton, that are
Yeah.
signed, like Dane Doby. Dane, if you're listening to me, sign, brother. I don't care how old and heavy you are. You're a stud. We need you on the Atlas, brother. There's my pitch. Go ahead. Sorry.
I love it. But yeah, they had the number 1 and number 9 pick this entry draft. Now they move up to 6. Even more important, I think, than adding Paul Rabil, you have a chance to get Lyle Thompson at number 1 still, and potentially take Nick Morocco, the guy that Sean Quirk won a championship in the MLO with last season. So I don't know if that's what he's going to do, but I do think that was big. Now on the flip side, you guys on the Atlas get, a ton of draft capital, including in this college draft. Another pick still in this entry draft. You move down a little bit, but you still have that pick. What is Ben Rubeor's, plan with all this draft capital that he has, and how is he planning on reshaping this Atlas team?
Well, I don't think it was about him trying to reshape anything. I think it was about, trying to make everybody, let's be honest. The whole big rumor around the PLL is that our locker room was in shambles. There are so many egos. Well, guys, can I just put this to rest? When locker rooms are really bad, you lose by a lot. We lost 3 games by 1 goal. Like, guys, lap it up. I tell all my haters, lap it up. Break it down, lap it up. Lap it up, lap it up, lap it up. Right? Because take a lap. Like, honestly, it's not that bad. So what's going on right now with Ben is Ben's trying to just make moves he thinks will help the team, help the players around, get a little younger. Everybody knows that. Getting a little younger. We have an opportunity now with 12 picks to become very young. There's some great players, in the MLL. Everybody used to say, oh, the MLL, they suck. They're the rookie league. No, they're not. They're good. There's some great players. There was just guys that you couldn't go away. It didn't fit in their schedule. There was more money being offered on their end. This is a business, okay? It is a business. These guys are paid well, right? They take care of their bodies exactly how professional athletes do in the NHL, in the NBA and the NFL. It's very simple. But I think he just wanted to get a little younger. Maybe, I don't think he was doing it to shake up things, honestly. I just think if you know Ben's personality, he just wants to put the best team he can forward for some of the guys and, do right by some of the other guys. I think, moving Rob, who I love dearly, is a good friend. We caught us all a little bit off guard because, sometimes you hear the trade rumors, you know what's going on, but the league has to approve it. Then the league just goes hush. So you don't know as an assistant, you don't know if they happened. I mean, that getting a Rob is a benefit to him, and us getting the picks that we got are a benefit to us. So I think Ben has made good moves. And by the way, Ben doesn't get any credit. All right, Hutton, he doesn't. Mm-hmm. You can't put up graphics about a trade. Can't be like picture of him and him opening the hat and putting on the new uniform. You just can't do that with a trade, right? You're not going to do put a piece of paper and freaking hang a jersey over the piece of paper. So the excitement doesn't feel there yet, but the excitement will be there come draft night.
Again, you guys, still have a good, strong core. Talk to me a little bit, I guess, about the defense and what your plans are going into 2021.
Well, I think, number one, I will give it up. My inexperience as a professional coach was definitely evident. I'll be the first person to take the blame there. As a high school coach, you don't have all those athletes, and you can't do all the crazy things you can do with the pro guys. So moving into the new year, I was very adamant, and I don't even know the projected final roster yet, to be honest with you. I don't. I wish I did. I wish I would tell you right now if I did. You know that. I'm being pretty honest. my request to Ben and the rest of the guys that help him out make decisions along with me were, I want the 3 close D guys for sure. And I thought Craig Chick did a great job. But the 3 close D guys and obviously Jack are very important. Number one, for a goalie, if you're a close D guy, you have to understand the goalie's psyche. He's got to be comfortable with the guys in front of him. All right. He's got to understand the guys in front of him. They have to understand him. Jack Kincannon is a great kid. Legit goalie. Let's be honest. One of the best there in the world. Austin Buffoni, what he brings to the table is that's a 4-time All-American. If you've ever talked to Austin in a game, not only is a reasonably very, very good defender, the big thing for Austin is the kid has an IQ through the roof. Tucker Durkin goes without saying, one of the best cover guys that's ever played. Mean, angry, and by the way, a defensive coordinator himself. And Cade Van Rappelhorst, who's the best ground ball guy, and he didn't play 2 more games and still led the league in ground balls, one of the best cost turnover guys. You have to keep that core together, I think. Now, can you substitute guys in and out of there? Yeah, because you could pull Cade, move him in other places. So my outlook on the defense is for me to become a little more interchangeable, do a little bit more of, some odd things that might throw off the rhythm of a PLL, offense. And then make sure I hold people accountable to the scouting report. Okay. Because sometimes pros have their egos, and what you say on the scouting report isn't always going to resonate through their brains. And that's like any player, by the way. That's a high level college player, a high school high level guy. And, when they followed the scouting report, it did well. I mean, the only reason we lose that playoff game, it isn't on Jack. Miles Jones's shot hits halfway down a stick and bends the stick back. You're talking about 140 degrees on the turf, whether the stick is in a white color or not absorbing heat. It still is. And Miles Jones just straight being a beast, because that guy is a beast, shooting it 100+ overhand, hitting a stick, and it goes in. So, there's not much more that if you say in a locker room, you tweak it a little bit, Hutton. Okay. You tweak a locker room just a tad. You get that 1 goal back. Then it's a tie. Then maybe you make another change and you gain that goal. So it's little battles. Mm-hmm. But us moving into defense, our goal last year was, truth be told, to hold guys to 10 goals a game. I think we were right about there. So we hit our goal, right? And we were to score about 13. We didn't hit that goal. So now coach is going to do and hit that goal. He's doing the right trades. Will we pick up some D guys? You betcha. Who it is, I don't have a clue, and I can look at you and swear on my children I don't, because there's 10 different names, right? Like me, I want Graham Hossack. I don't even know if he signed with the league. Why do I want Graham Hossack? Hey, Big Graham. The reason is you're the NLL defensive MVP. That means you're versatile to me. Canadians, unselfish guys, great sticks, great teammates, right? Hossack, animal. The names like Gilray, Burns, in the college draft, you have, Connors from UVA. Yeah, we got to start to look at that Georgetown defense, because something's going on that's right here. If they have anybody that's old enough to come out, right? So that's the type of things we're doing. That is the types of things we want to do. Look for us in the upcoming weeks. More podcasts on tap. Can't wait. So fired up. But you're listening and have listened to Takeaways with Ric Beardsley. Catch you on the flip.